Hello and welcome to the Forward Unto Dawn podcast, a show devoted to the fiction of the Halo franchise. This is episode number 17. I'm David, and I'm joined by my co-host, Dani, aka Slightly Live.
Hello.
And this week we have a special guest who I'll have introduce themselves, Dildev.
Hello. I am one of the people who write for the blog of the community site Halo Archive, and I'm also run a blog on Tumblr called Arbiter Analysis. So, I like Halo.
That's a good thing considering you're on this podcast.
Yep.
So, as part of our Community Evolved Kickstarter, backers got the opportunity to suggest topics for articles or podcasts, and this week we're going to do a few of them. Our first comes from Paul/Duty-Bound, who asks us, what parts of the Halo books would you like to see brought into the games?
If you'd asked me that question a few years ago, I might have said bringing Halsey into the games, because that was a character I thought was far too pivotal. They brought it up in the books, they established in the books. I thought it was far too pivotal of a character to have the games completely ignore her. Especially when the games start getting bigger and bigger in scale, you know? And that would have been my answer a few years ago. And if you fast forward to now, I think there's a few elements out there which are actually very important and they're completely brushed aside games-wise for a number of obvious reasons and maybe not so obvious reasons. But I'll just give one example. I would suggest the base at Onyx. The reason why I would suggest it is because as a thing, it should be the most important thing for like all of humanity. More important than the Smiggity Infinity. Like, we have a base inside the structure the size of a solar system. Like, and we can hide it in subspace or subspace or whatever. We can hide it too. That'd be a brilliant backup base in case, Earth dies or falls or gets invaded, gets glassed, gets whatevered. We should be settling like little human colonies in there as a backup. Never mind the fact that how do you explore something the size of a solar system? I mean, how do you... Like, that should be like the most important thing for us to be getting our heads around in the actual universe, but it's just brushed aside as that closety Onyx basey thing. Yeah. And that's never going to be mentioned in the games or shown in the games, I don't think.
Kind of jumping off of that one, the Spartan 3s. Like, we did get the Spartan 3s in Halo Reach, but unless you read, the additional material, you didn't know that, Noble Team, minus George, is entirely Spartan 3s, and you don't know that there is a difference between them, a disconnect between how they were trained, who they were trained by, that they aren't, connected to Halsey. And I think, and they are such a big part of the expanded universe. And, we suddenly have the Spartan 4s in there, so we go from the Spartan 2s to the Spartan 4s with a little bit of smattering of Spartan 3s in Reach. So I think just a bigger exploration of the Spartan 3s in-game, I think would be really interesting to have.
Those are some really good picks. I think my choice would probably come from Mortal Dictata, the Kigyar Cholvan.
Oh, please, yes.
In that book, she's a shipmistress who, in the wake of the Great Schism, wants to create a unified Kigyar military and navy, and for that reason, she's different from pretty much every other Jackal we've gotten in the fiction. They're usually happy being opportunistic pirates. That's a shame because I think she'd be very interesting to get more of. She's actually a skirmisher, so it'd be a return to those guys who we haven't seen since Halo Reach, and especially now with the new status quo post-Halo 5 with Jul 'Mdama's Covenant destroyed, having new ex-Covenant factions could really flesh out the universe, and Chol would play a great role in that.
I agree with that. In general, just more of... Like, I love the Sangheili, and so I will gladly take more Sangheili, but we're also kind of very... There's been a famine of information regarding the other races. Like, we get glimpses of Jirahane, like Castor and Lytus, both very interesting, especially Castor from Last Light. and, you get Cholvan, and, then you hear about, like Bib Jam from one of the audio files in Halo 5 Guardians, and then you get Stolt in Shadow of Intent, and just like all these different characters from different species. I'd like to see more of them show up also in game. So kind of on the going off of Cholvan, like, yeah, I'd love to see more diversity in the alien races and the ways that they impact the universe. I'd love to see that in game.
Actually, yeah, you just reminded me of something that I've been annoyed with over the past few years, in regards to how 343 actually in particular have treated their take on the Halo universe, and that's got to do with their redesigns that started with Halo 4, whenever they decided, yeah, we're going to fundamentally change these alien designs, and we're not going to bother even explaining it because it's ours and we do what we want. And that was a very, in all honesty, I thought it was very annoying that they were taking that sort of pushy point of view. They wanted to put their stamp on the Halo universe and middle finger up to whatever came before because it's theirs now. And I see a retraction in that position because if you follow the Escalation comics, they actually put in, for example, the jackals, the two different jackal designs, the dinosaur-y one and the saurian one side by side. So it's almost as if they've taken a step back and realized, well, we can actually make an opportunity out of this by saying, well, those are just variations on species, the same way you get different colored humans, essentially.
To be honest, yeah, the Sangheili designs in Halo 4 post are not my favorites, but, like, like you said, like, it's a thing about resources, and Grim Brother 1 has gone on to multiple forums. I know he's at least once on Halo Waypoint and at least once on Halo Archive. He's said, like, yeah, in canon, like, if you went into the Halo universe, you would see all these, like, mandible designs. Like, you would see Ripa Morami's mandible designs. You would see the designs from Halo 2 Anniversary, and you'd see the, like, the Halo 4 designs, because those are just different types of characters. But, due to resources, the model that we show in game is just that model. But in terms of the expanded universe, I thought it was really interesting in the Thursday War, when the whole attack on Vadam Keep is going down, and Raya Mdama considers for a moment going to hide among the civilians of Vadam. She notes that she wouldn't be able to because her accent and skin color would set her off. She's lighter skinned than those of Vadam. And if you go and, like, read the Escalation comics, you talked about the different jackal variations. Well, the Sangheili skin tones are different too. Thel Vadam has a slightly darker skin tone than Mdama does, and Ayit has this kind of orangey skin tone. So, like, even that has been brought into the comics, and I really appreciated that in Escalation. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely. Paul actually had a second part to his question, which is kind of cheating, but because you only get one, but I thought it was worth addressing. He was wondering how likely a return of the Flood would be and what we'd like to see if they're brought back.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they came back, and if they came back, I want to fight through a burn. Like one of those just flood-infected, like, whole solar systems that existed during the Forerunner Flood War. Like, it'd kind of be like the Cortana level, but worse. And I would really like to see that in the game. You
want game of Cortana levels? What the hell?
Like, but more like a dynamic environment as well. I just think, like, the atmosphere there would be really, really cool. Like, creepy, really awful, but, like, from a lore I don't know if it'd be fun from a gameplay perspective, but from a lore perspective, I would love to fight through a burn. So, I would endure another Cortana level for a burn.
No, it's just the idea of level after level of proctology videos, just playing through it and interactively does not sound fun. Just no. Some people love that stuff. People love that level. I just thought it was a chore. I hit brown.
It was hard to navigate Cortana. I think that was the worst part of that level for me, was navigation. I just couldn't find my way around. And it was because of the brown. All the brown.
I think it's one of those levels I'm fine speed running through, but if I get knocked off or turned around, I'm lost. I'm hosed.
I every time I think of that level, I keep thinking of a level from Conker's Bad Fur Day of the big giant talking poo, and just the mental association with that. It's just, no. Also, it's like the antithesis of Halo 3, that level. Like, the Halo 3 is all about the open environments and massive scale and choice and diversity and all these different ways to approach encounters. And then you have, like, the ass level where it's just walk through the ass backwards, walk through the frontwards. There you go, you're done. You know, it's anti-Halo 3, that level, damn it.
Okay, but what if you had a Cortana, like, okay, a burn level, but it had the open world of Halo 3, of Halo 5. So it was blood infested, really gross and ugly and just and really creepy, but you still had that open world, like, dynamic play.
I think the flood environments in Halo Wars, in terms of a larger scale with all these flood stalks or massive building-sized flood forms, could be cool. Or even just in terms of navigation, I think in Halo 3 they just covered too much of everything with flood biomatter. It never really felt like high charity to me because for the most part you couldn't recognize any of the places you'd been in previously.
Yeah.
I had heard, and I don't know how true this is, but I had heard that for the Cortana level there was actually supposed to be this kind of pseudo-boss fight in which you went through the mausoleum of the Arbiters, and all, like, the Arbiter corpses were, like, floodified and, like, came at you. But that would have been fun. That would have been terrifying. I don't know if it's interesting. I don't know if fun's the right word. It would have been interesting.
If they do bring back the flood, I think for story and lore reasons, they'll need to change things up a lot and push it beyond what we've gotten and what we're used to. Because Halo 3 tried to push that with the pure forms, but I don't think they worked out too well. They made the combat forms easy to take down, and the pure forms are just more annoying than anything else, especially in higher difficulties. If you've read the Halo graphic novel story Last Voyage of the Infinite Sucker, the comic portrays the flood in this really wild and nightmarish style. These sort of horrible multicolored flood that look like you went on an ash trip, coming at you in this sort of roiling mass that we've seen described in the games, but it's never really been represented properly.
Have you guys seen read the Mona Lisa or seen the motion comic adaptation of the Mona Lisa? Because especially the motion comic absolutely nails the horror of the flood imagery. Like, that was really good, like, bringing the flood into this very alien and aliens-esque, like, feeling towards its development, and towards the way that it's treated. But yeah, that felt like the flood that I would want to see, like, in-game. Again, this kind of galactic horror show.
I think they're holding on to the flood like get out of jail free card. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the easiest fallback story to do. Oh, here are the flood again. They will wipe out the galaxy unless we stop them again. That's I'm not too sure how you deal with that, because Halo Wars 2 did sort of leave a couple of plot threads dangling about, like, whole planets potentially infected with the flood. You know, the flood just being a constant threat that we haven't actually dealt with that threat properly.
That, like, because then there have been other hints, like you said, like escalation, and also at the end of, like, granted, Halo Legends Origins, like, because it's told from Cortana, who is, you know, that she's kind of entering her first stages of rampancy during her telling of that, so Frank O'Connor has said that, you know, she's not a reliable source. But yeah, we do see, like, pieces of, the flood survived, the flood is there, but at the same, which makes sense, that the flood would still be out in the galaxy because they have these localized spots, and because the Halo ring that they fired only killed the flood on the arc.
Yeah,
right?
and the arc, that's like the outside of the galaxy. That's the fringes of our galaxy, so it wouldn't penetrate deeper into where we are. We're in an arm halfway across. Sorry, the full length of the way across. That wouldn't impact it. And if you go as well, just by the fact that the origin of the flood's intergalactic.
Mhm.
So we know even if the whole Halo Ray fire done did, it wiped out all life, and we started all the Halo shebang that we know about. We never actually dealt with the origins of the flood in totality. They came from outside the galaxy. They could still come back from outside the galaxy.
Yeah, and also like the Forerunner saga, only like leaves a door open, but it like hangs a sign on the door and says like, we're coming like back in 10. Because like, you know, the grave mine during its you know, discussion to the didact, it ends up saying like, yeah, you guys are gonna like push us back, but we're gonna come again. And he says the same thing again to John when they've lit the Halo ring and are running away from the Halo ring in Halo 3, is that this sentence is something that I just have to wait to overcome again, like wait until I have acquired sufficient body mass once more. But yeah, it's always been treated like a temporary thing, killing the flood.
Yeah, and kind of going off what we got in Halo 3 and the Forerunner trilogy, if you bring the flood back now, they aren't just space zombies. You've got all the fan expectations for the return of the flood and the precursors coming back.
Like there would have to be like like you said, further ramifications about the mantle and about, you know, where that lies. And, you know, the precursors were going to give it to humanity, the Forerunners took it by force, and then the whole thing just came into a mess after.
Ta-da!
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the mantle is so messed up. Oh.
Okay, and we have one other topic to discuss from Gavin/Z Outer Limits, and I think that this ties into one of Danny's bugbears about the universe and something we talked about last episode with Hunters in the Dark. Does the need for Earth and humanity ending climactic events damage the universe?
You know what? I would say to a certain extent, yeah. Yeah, just because, like, there's, because we do have, like, it made sense during the Human Covenant War. Like, that just made sense for, you know, all the games set during the Human Covenant War for humanity to, you know, push back and, you know, save the galaxy, because it was tied into just saving humanity themselves from this overwhelming force that of the Covenant and the Flood. But, like, in posts... And, like, I'll give Halo 4 a pass on it, too, because that was about the Master Chief and Cortana finding a way home. That was about their story. But, like, you know, with larger games like Halo 5 and, like, where we're gonna go with Halo 6, I think there needs to be more of the other races having significant roles in protecting the galaxy as well.
And it's a setup that, like the Flood, the more you use it wantonly, it can have less and less of an impact. And with something like Hunters in the Dark, it's less these events happening and more. Why don't people talk about it?
Yeah, I think I'm really sick of that in the books and extended stuff. It's ridiculous that it has to be, a threat is thingy and we must stopify it. Yay! You know, it's really getting played out. Like if you look at the original Halo, like that wasn't a direct threat to Earth, and it was fun. You know, we didn't have to have like everything on the line with it. It was a slow build up to it. You know what I mean? And a sort of reveal, a surprising reveal about it. But it wasn't like the whole point of the game. You know, you weren't worried about, oh no, they will attack Earth, or you know, like that wasn't on your mind. And I don't care about it. I honestly don't care about Earth at this point. I've saved it that many fucking times. Let them save themselves for once, you know. And you're right as well about the fact that it's so, like, humans in the Halo universe, if I don't mind saying this, we're scumbags. Like, we are complete, utter scum. Actually, we f over our allies. If you look at Oni, they screw over their own relations with the elites. They do medical testing and inhuman testing and just immoral stuff on on their partners and friends, never mind on their own children. You know what I mean? Like, humanity in the Halo universe, I don't think they deserve to be saved in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's something people glossed over in the Nyland books. If I recall, there was a tiny bit in some of the early fiction about one of the reasons the insurrectionists fought back was that they didn't want their occupations chosen for them by the government, and that stopped me. Like, wait, what? If it wasn't clear before, I think Hunt the Truth really made that plain, that the UEG is pretty much an authoritarian regime, and it's not a great place.
It's really, really not. Like, it's over time when they built up this extended universe where you start thinking that I don't really like these people I'm fighting for. I don't like my side.
Yeah, it's the civilians, and then you got the heroes, but leading the heroes, aside from like Terrence Hood, are just like, yeah, they're backstabbers, and yeah, they're like, I think, like, in defense of Saren Osman, I think she's trying to do the right thing, but I think she's just going about it all wrong. But yeah, it overall just the way that it's set up, especially post-war, especially post-Human Covenant War, it's almost scary that, like, I was actually concerned that they would go forward and say that humanity are the rightful owners of the man, should be given the responsibility and the protection and the authority over the galaxy. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Goodness gracious, no. So I actually really appreciated in Halo 5 when John, who is kind of like the pinnacle of like humanity, says like, yeah, the mantle's crap. The mantle is like an oppressive piece. We don't want the mantle. It's bull.
Yeah, and as we brought up in our piece on Cortana's motivations in Halo 5, which I will link to in the show notes, Cortana is product of an authoritarian regime that basically buys into the idea of controlling others before they control you. And so her assuming the mantle in Halo 5 is basically saying, Oni had the right idea, but these fleshy, short-lived guys can't do it properly. And now she has giant honking space birds to enforce her will.
Space birds. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we programmed them to think that way, to do the greater good. And that's exactly what she's doing. She's doing the greater good by flipping everyone over, because that's how we do things in Halo, you know?
What I find really interesting about like the idea of the mantle and even the Covenant, it all ties back into this one thing, this one line of the Flood, which I feel very vaguely that it's, you know, that it was said in Halo 3, but I definitely know for a fact that it was said in Silent EM, was that the Gravemind once said, peace through subjugation. So essentially peace through oppression. That is exactly how it happened with the UNSC versus the Insurrection, and I don't really like the Insurrection either, because they did some pretty atrocious things. But like UNSC and the Insurrection, the whole idea of the mantle, again, step out of line, be punished. The Covenant, that the whole position of the Arbiter was to keep people in line through oppression, based in its very origin of like it becoming that, like of the fall of Fal Shavami to becoming this just kind of shameful position. Overall, it's just, it has there's this ongoing thread of peace through oppression, and it's always what we're fighting against. It just comes in different forms, and the most current form is Cortana and the Mantle.
So in summation, everyone is horrible.
Yeah.
I actually felt, see, I was actually cheering on Joel Madama after learning his origins, you know that? Like, you're kidnapped, you're abused, you're experimented on, you have a lifetime of being a test subject to look forward to. I get the hell out of there too. I would be rather miffed at people doing that to me.
Yeah, I understand where people felt miffed about Joel's early death in Halo 5, because in the books he's got a pretty solid reason for doing what he does, and his political goals, as opposed to the faux religious ones he uses to gain followers.
Yeah.
And his political goals don't really get expressed to the player.
But wasn't there an only plot to poison the food supply on St. Helios to make them dependent on Earth.
Yeah, no, not
By
just dependent on Earth, to wipe them out. This was a bioweapon just to kill all the Sanktarians. Yeah, poison their Urukhan. Yeah.
Like that, like that's disgusting. Like that's just as bad as kidnapping children on the scale of scumbag humanity. You know what I mean? Like that's, I don't understand. Yeah, and we keep saying, oh, it's just Oni. Yeah, Oni. They're the bad guys who are actually the good guys and control us and give us orders. But they're the bad guys. You know what I mean? I hate that. I hate the fact that we're fighting. That's supposed to be our side. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like fighting for the UNSC in Halo. I don't go, oh yeah, hell yeah, another victory for us. You know what I mean? I don't buy into any of that. I don't understand why they keep pushing it so thick in our faces, especially with the bro Spartans, Spartan bros.
What I find important about the Spartan 4s is, okay, the Spartan, I've ranted about this in a Halo Archive article, Mortal Dictata, is that Spartan 2s and Spartan 3s were that flat out trafficking. That's what it was. They were child enslavement, child soldiers, human trafficking, no agency in becoming Spartans. And what the Spartan 4 program is it's a new program that's pulled off. They no longer answer directly to Oni. So they're separate from Oni. And it was created by a Spartan 2 and a Spartan 3. So the Spartan 4 program, to me, actually speaks of a reclamation of like Spartan 2s and 3s reclaiming what's stolen from them and making it into something better. So that, to me, that's why I like the Spartan 4 program. Even if, you get people like DeMarco and Madden there, it's still like the impact, what it represents. I really like the Spartan 4 program, and I like a lot of the Spartan 4s. So
I just thought it was awfully convenient going from Halo 3, you're the last guy there, there's some other dudes in the extended universe that you know about, you're the last one, wake up, hey, bros everywhere, what? Why is there an army of us? What the hell happened? Like, that was such a conceited, terrible thing to do. I just think they brought it in too quickly.
I will concede that point. Yes, the sudden power the sudden power shift, especially the Spartan 4s, should have gotten a little more explanation.
Yeah, and more build-up, because you don't build an army overnight. You know what I mean? They should have taken a longer time to show the development of this. You know what I mean? And pushing to get it done, and just the challenges of setting it up. And then convincing people to join up, and you could have actually followed one or two Spartans from the very start of the whole process. You know what I mean? Up until the very, very end, where it's an actual proper military machine.
Yeah. Do you mean like in game? Because they have done that in the expanded universe at least twice.
I think they could have done a lot more with the Spartan 4s in game.
Okay.
Like I think they really treat them badly in game, especially with God, I don't want to even mention her name.
I like Palmer.
I didn't have to mention her name for you to know, okay? So that just says a lot about what her character is.
Yeah,
but I think she was a terrible example of it. You know, like they went wrong with her, and I think they went even worse with Locke. Like, Locke is big, black, and soulless.
Oh gosh, I love Locke. Are you kidding? No, he is. You know what? I'll let you pass on the Palmer thing, but I'm going to bat for Locke.
I have a text-to-voice simulator on my computer with more personality than him.
But the thing about Locke, like, one of his main is that he is kind. Like, even when he's Oni, like in Nightfall, he still is kind. He's very polite towards people.
I didn't pick up any of that in any of the Locke material I unfortunately sat through. Like, what part of the Locke stuff does this emotion come from? Because I haven't seen it.
Okay, most of the kindness you see in Halo 5, in just the way he treats his crew, and, like, specifically Osiris, but a lot of it, I should have said, like, politeness is a better way of doing it, because he is, like, he defers to, Aiken in Nightfall. Like, he respects the chain of command, and he tries to pull in, like, Horrigan when Horrigan gets mouthy. he takes a stand with the Cedrons against the Oni people because the Cedrons are in the right. He has a moral core. And, like, even when Thel 'Vidam in Halo 5, understandably, like, up in his face and kind of, like, angry, you know, for the most part, Locke remains, like, respectful of, like, Thel's authority. This is Thel's ground, you know, okay, I'm going to respect, I'm going to answer to him. And just, in general, Locke's a good person, and I'm going to defend that by gum. Grr.
But that sounds like it sounds like a wee Gary Sue then, because he's very nice. Oh, he's very, very nice. Yeah,
that is an important thing. Like, forget boring is every single character having to be a cynical, like, mouthy person. No, like the whole thing he goes through in Nightfall, especially about him having to you know, like, choose between, like, Oni versus the Cedrons. And the whole thing he goes through there, I found that very compelling. I'm not going to put Nightfall up there as, like, the pinnacle of, like, media, but the story that Locke went through I thought was very compelling because it revealed what type of person he is at his core. So...
okay, well, I just remember whenever I played Halo 5 the first time, my first experience in Halo 5, I knew who Locke was, and by the time Halo 5 finished, I thought, why wasn't Buck the main character? Buck had so much personality.
To be honest, I had the complete opposite reaction. Buck was the person I was looking forward to the least out of Osiris. He ended up pulling his weight in the end. Like, when I got there, I really loved how much of an emotional support he was for the other characters. Particularly when, you know, before the Sunayan, he goes and he asks, Tanaka to say a few words for them and kind of invites Tanaka into the group.
Yeah, because polite cardboard man, Locke doesn't care about prayers.
Gosh, no! Locke is not a cardboard character. It's... Gosh, I hate using this... I cannot believe I'm saying this word in terms of Halo 5, because I really hate how it's been used in terms of Halo 5, but Locke feels more nuanced than Buck. And I hate using the word nuance because it's been thrown around in regards to Halo 5 to a very controversial thing that I don't agree is nuanced. But the thing about, like, arg.
But do you really want a nuanced character? Or do you want a badass? If I'm playing some really complicated game where political balances and all this stuff, it's important, and relationships are important, and if I'm playing that game, maybe I want a Locke for that game. I'm playing a game where I'm playing a space dude in a spacesuit shooting space lasers at space bad guys. I want a badass. Sorry, you know.
You know what? Polite doesn't mean that you can't backflip around and kick people in the butt. You got Captain America, for crying out loud.
Oh, but can I say one thing? I like Buck so much. I can't stand Nathan Fillion, but I like Buck.
And look, I think Buck is awesome too. Like, I just wasn't ready for him in Halo 5. I didn't know what he was going to bring to the table. What he brought to the table, I really liked. And I think, Danny, the ultimate difference between you and me is that I do like nuanced relationships and nuanced, like, touchy-feely, like, friendships being developed within the bang-bang-shooty explosions. Like, I will take the bang-bang-shooty explosions, but that's why I like Locke, is because and, like, specifically Locke, when he is around people, like when he's around Osiris, when he's around the Cedrons and the Onis, because of the way the characters play off each other. That's what keeps me invested in the game. The gameplay is fun, but what keeps me coming back to the universe is the characters and their interactions.
Can I make one completely unfair comparison?
Go for it.
I will allow it.
Johnson and the Chief never had a heart-to-heart bro moment, and I loved the shit between their relationship. I loved how they interacted, and they never had touchy-feely bro moment, and there was no calm, thoughtful, meaningful relationship there. And they had great dynamic.
Well, yeah. I agree with you there. But at the same time, that was a different sort of friendship.
Yeah. I'm not saying there's no room for the touchy-feely stuff. Yeah. I'm just saying that maybe not at the forefront. Like, he was supposed to be this equal to the Chief. Like I got very disappointed with Locke because the extended media and the marketing They portrayed this great hunt. They kept calling it a hunt, you know? You're bringing in the chief, and you're this big man who's the only one who can do it. And it was a watery, snottery, disappointing little slap job thing that lasted half a minute, you know? Like, is that it, you know? And even in the end, they're like hugging bros, and it just felt like I was sold a game that didn't exist, you know what I mean, with the marketing.
Blame that on the story, don't blame that on the character. That's what I would say. I think just in general, that was an issue that was with Halo 5. Just the marketing game. Like, for instance, Hunt the Truth definitely was building Oni up to be this big, threat, like, kind of one of the main threats in the game, but we barely hear from Oni. Do we hear at all from Oni? Is Oni even mentioned in the game?
It might only be part of the game with the opening section of Blue Team on the Argent Moon.
Yeah. Yeah, like, beyond that, it's just, like, the whole corruption that, you know, was being explored in through Hunt the Truth, just not there. And so, again, I would blame more the marketing.
What's really sad is that Hunt the Truth is easily some of the best Halo fiction they've ever done in terms of quality, story. Everything about that had me just salivating for more. It was just fan-smeggedy-tastic, you know? And
absolutely.
And to find out that it had literally nothing really to do with the game, and in the end, it meant literally nothing, had no real impact. I was like, that's a bit of a wet sausage, you know?
It was disappointing. Like, I kept on trying to see where the connection came in apart from the Guardians. Yeah, I was expecting a lot more about Oni cover-ups and, like...
Do you remember the first season with the Master Chief? I thought, they're explaining why he's being hunted. They're explaining this big thing about the Chief. This is so awesome. And it turns out, the Chief, he shot up some government people. This is mind-blowing. And then the complete 180 on all of that. They pulled it all back in. They cleared the Chief. Right. Sorry. Need to make sure I understand how silly this is. The Chief got framed for something, blamed for something, exonerated for the something, and then a few months later, he's on a mission, he goes rogue, and they're like, oh no, he's gone bad again.
Well, yeah, and I think that was a really interesting thought that they brought up in the first season of Hunt the Truth, of being the, like, I think it was Mashak that first started talking about is... Chief is, like, the epitome, the example of free reign in the military. And people aren't happy about that. And that would have been wonderful to explore. Absolutely wonderful to explore throughout Halo 5. And so, yeah, I was expecting more of that. Instead of the created plotline. Which, yeah.
Well, you guys went off that question pretty far.
We did.
Whoops.
We got into a fight.
It was a friendly fight. It was a skirmish.
It was a friendly fight, yes. It was a friendly fight. Okay,
anything else you guys want to talk about then? Anything we didn't cover? Halo 5, Halo 4, Spartans, Locke?
Actually, yeah, we have a clean slate of nothing to look forward to, really, with Halo fiction coming up. We have a big empty black hole just sucking the life out of us with nothing to look forward to after Halo 5, because they went nuts this little period with Halo 5. Thankfully, I've enjoyed every moment and every page of every little story they put out, and now we're back to what's next. You know, like, have you read the latest Waypoint update about the new Infinity Armory update to Halo 5? There's a little lore nugget of the map description for, I think it's Riptide or something.
Yeah.
And they mentioned just a little bit of post Halo 5 of info there, and I was like, yes, this is in my veins. This is not enough.
Yeah, like, the only thing that they've officially stated was the print release of New Blood. And, well, you know, yay, because a lot of people were excited for the print release, but at the same time, I want some new fiction as well. Like, I'd love to see, you know, some more information. I got really excited in terms of the lore nugget about the lore nugget of the blood of Suban, or Suban, however you would say it. The carbine with the needler rounds. I I got really excited about that lore nugget. But that was going more into the past and less into the post-Halo 5 universe. That was kind of...
The little nuggets, it's like, that's awesome. We want some more, you know? Forwards, backwards, it doesn't matter.
Okay, then, that about wraps it up. I want to thank Dildev for coming along and arguing with Dani for me.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll put links to what we talked about and Dildev's work in the show notes, which you'll find at forwarduntodawn.com/FUDcast17. You can subscribe to the podcast via iTunes or catch new episodes on our website or on YouTube. You can follow us at Twitter at ForwardDawn or leave a comment on the website or our forums. Thanks for listening and see you next time.